And that's one of my main goals, is just to like keep playing, keep writing, because it's how I stay sane and get to play with people that we like and form stronger relationships with. So
you can never lose sight of having fun playing music.
Period. Yeah, no. If it's not fun, why are you doing it?
Exactly. If it becomes a business, that's when bands break up. Then it gets all serious.
A business can still be fun, though. You just have to have the right head on your shoulders and drop your fucking ego. Hello and welcome to Start the Beat with Sikes. My name is Sikes and this is my podcast. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone who checked out the last episode. If you're one of the people who listened to that conversation, I hope you enjoyed it. And thanks so much for coming back. But for those of you out there who are new to the show, welcome. Please feel free to make yourselves at home. And as always, there's beer and soda in the fridge. We've already had the beers, so cheers from the past. But here we... Jesus Christ, everything's a fucking mess. Smacking things. I've already spilled 2 beers on my computer during episodes.
No.
Wow.
It has happened. So it's probably best that I don't have a beer in here right now. But sitting here with me today, 3 minutes later, we finally got through this introduction.
More introduction.
Kelly and Justin of the band Pack, please make some noise for the internet.
What is up? We are super stoked to be here.
Super stoked to have both of you here. You're good people, good adults, good human beings, a good band. And let's talk about Pack. Who wants to take the reins on telling the world what Pack is for those of you that don't know?
Well,
Justin, take the reins.
I will start with the reins because I could kind of tell you how we got started and where this lovely lady came into the picture. So a few years ago, there was the Pittsburgh Plays, which was we did Tom Petty. And it's with Corey Muro from Punchline. He's a drummer. He's an awesome friend of mine. And Josh McKees, who does a lot of booking for Live Nation. So they put this together and we did a thing for Tom Petty. And it was basically take a bunch of local Pittsburgh artists and put them into a band and play Tom Petty songs.
Yeah.
Sold out at Mr. Small's several nights. And I played with my longtime friend, Josh Fiedler of the Juliana Theory. Got to play in a band with Scott from Zayo and Chris from Punchline. So these are 3 bands that I grew up, not necessarily idolizing, but someone who I looked up to because in the local scene, I played in pop punk bands. They were bands that were doing it and like touring. And so long story short, after that, we were like, hey, we should probably try to put something together because we have chemistry and practice a lot. And that's where kind of Pack came into fruition. And then we tried a bunch of singers out and eventually we got her. And
I didn't know you tried a bunch of singers out.
We did, yeah. See, we knew of Kelly because she was in a band called The Big Hurry, and Josh and I had an old band called Vesta, and we had heard her lovely voice, and I was like, what's up with that girl from Big Hurry? And he was like, I think she's in New York, and he knew one of her longtime friends, and he reached out to you, and the rest is history, but...
I was going to ask you about your background. So what is your background outside of this Big Hurry?
Yeah, so I've been playing in bands for a long time, and the band before Pack was Big Hurry, Pittsburgh band, and we played here in Pittsburgh for 5 years, and then Danny, who played drums, moved to LA. I moved to New York, but it was just super fun.
What style of music was the Big Hurry?
It was rock music, indie rock music. And it was really great because we all had lots of different interests. Andy played guitar and he was a fan of Juliana Theory. I came to the band with taste in punk music, but also in like Joni Mitchell and Tom Waits and singer-songwriter stuff. And, Danny loved like 80s pop and Lenny was like house music and all sorts of different stuff. Lenny has an awesome taste in music. And so we came together and I think Andy and Danny met on Craigslist. And then I worked at the Carnegie Museum with Lenny and we just became friends and started making music from there. But
that's fun. I always think that it's really cool when you have the opportunity to just like meet people over the years and then in some way or another, you all start playing music together.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Grey Walker is at this point, is like, it's a combination of people that all used to play shows together in different bands. And now it's kind of like, I don't know, a survival of the fittest to some degree, where it's like, we're the dummies that still want to do this.
Which is funny to hear you talk about the way you met the other guys, is because it sounds so practical. It's like, well, we were all playing together and we liked each other and we were practicing anyway, so we made a band.
Exactly.
It sounds so practical.
It's so cliche,
and then there was
true,
the singer, and she was back in town. So we made a band, which
brings us to our point
not?
that we talked about at the bar, is how do you kind of differentiate yourself from all the bands that take the serious photos and whatnot. And we talked about you kind of have to humanize yourself to make you more appealing to the masses, in my opinion. I'm a father of 4. I changed poopy diapers, and hopefully that's over soon because my oldest daughter's turning 9 and my youngest is 3.5. So 9 consecutive years of changing diapers. It would be nice to just not do that anymore.
Hell yeah.
So that's like what I do other than play drums. I change poopy diapers.
We swerved real hard to poopy diapers.
Hey,
It was like this was a hard swerve.
This is a podcast about real shit, real
shit,
life,
literally.
poopy diapers. Get it
I
in
need
there.
one of those every time there's a poopy
I'll
diaper.
get you your own set of buttons if you ever come
Hold,
back.
please. I know we need to change you, but
Oh yeah, for the home.
For real life.
That would be good.
for real life shit.
Real life shit.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. But yeah, I think that being genuine in just being an actual human versus being this rock star is a huge thing, especially because there's this inevitability of where we are as we age and get older. Our like fan base, our friends, they all get older too. So it's like, do you really want to still try to pretend like you're fucking 21 years old around
not.
a bunch of 30 somethings, 40 somethings in some cases? Like, you don't.
Well, we were talking about this earlier, but I think that when I met these guys, it was sort of like, I just want to make sure I want to go and meet them before we even like agreed to play together. I want to make sure that they're nice people, because like you spend a ton of your time with people you're in a band with.
Oh yeah.
Like, what's worse than realizing like, oh no, you're kind of an asshole.
Don't waste your time being in a band with people you don't like.
Yeah, they're nice guys, and they are all very nice guys.
Oh, thank you.
But also that like we're making music because it's fun, and it's ultimately like, great if we're, you use the phrase to the masses. Like, I think like that would be nice, but I think like we're making music that we like, and we're making music that like we're not embarrassed to invite our friends to shows.
Exactly.
And we are we're all kind of in that same mindset of like, we're lucky to still get to play. And that's one of my main goals, is just to like keep playing, keep writing, because it's how I stay sane and get to play with people that we like and form stronger relationships with. So
You can never lose sight of having fun playing music.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, no. If it's not fun, why are you doing it?
Exactly. If it becomes a business, that's when bands break up, because then it gets all serious.
A business can still be fun though. You just have to have the right head on your shoulders and drop your fucking ego.
Exactly.
And like stop thinking like just because like a business is successful, like there's still overhead. It's one of those things where it's like, oh, we sold all this merch. We sold all these CDs. Why aren't I making money? It's because the album cost us $5,000 to record.
Literally, yeah.
So it's like, it's one of those things that's like super funny when it's like, okay, like, sure, maybe it costs you, $1,500 to get a run of 7-inch records made, right? But you need to factor in how much time it actually costs to get the music recorded. And then you put all that stuff into it. And it's like, okay, if you do the math, it cost us $8 to produce something that we're selling for 10.
Yep.
It's like, okay, so we're maybe making $2.
Not a ton of return on investment there, but
right.
Yeah.
And that's, you don't hear very often, like, you want to make the big bucks, like find local musicians and make a band together. Like, I think that's why it was sort of nice to find people that we were like, no, we just want to make music we like. We want to like hanging out with each other. We be with other nice humans and make music that we can all enjoy.
It's almost like being in a relationship. It is a relationship of sorts, right? But like being very crude. How long of a period of time can you fuck somebody that you don't like? It's always very temporary.
Not
like
very
maybe,
long.
Are you looking for an answer to that question?
Yeah. I mean, like, it could go a little bit, but eventually it's going to fall apart. But if, like, you're in a relationship with people that you actually like and you love being around, like, you're going to blossom. You're going to be able to create families and birth musical children.
Sure.
Oh.
You get what I'm saying?
I like that.
That's my fucking metaphor right now.
That's a great metaphor. You could fuck
Yeah.
forever. You know? If you love them, yeah, for sure.
I think
But that's sort of, I mean, we were talking about this a little bit downstairs, and to extend your crude metaphor, like the thing that I'm really excited about Pack is that, we all have like pretty full lives other than the band, which I think comes with age and comes with as you are working full time and having kids and, other passion projects. So the nice thing is, like, we're not practicing. When we practice, we show up to play, which is also really nice. But we're not practicing 3-4 times a week. And when we do show up, it's new and exciting. It's like that person you like, and you're also effing and
sure.
and
Perpetual honeymoon phase.
that's exactly what it
Exactly.
is. And
Yeah.
I'm hoping, Justin was like, it'll last like that forever. And I was like, well, I'm just enjoying it right now.
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
super nice to always want to like show up and make music and have new ideas. And we are a youngish band, but it's still really fun every time. So
yeah, for sure. Definitely the infant stages of our band. Still changing our poopy diapers in Pack for sure.
So how
Back to
long
poopy
has
diapers.
Pack been playing?
I mean, I've played with Josh Fiedler, our guitar player, since roughly 2007. We've had quite a few different projects. So him and I go back like 11, 12 years playing music. But for Pack specifically, I'd say January of 2017,
Okay.
roughly whenever those Tom Petty shows started. And but she didn't come into the picture until quite a few months after. So we were just like in the early stages of demoing and just being excited, like we've talked about. But yes, there were people that we tried out prior to you, and you were just the one.
Yeah, and I'm gonna just go ahead and say we weren't Pack until
We were not.
When?
Well, it was kind of cool how we did it. This was exciting. We just put a bunch of names in a hat and we sat around my pool one afternoon, or it was the evening actually. And we just kind of pulled everyone's names out. And, I had a couple really good ones in there. Coming in Stereo, I thought was cool because I watched this show called 13 Reasons Why. But then Kelly was like, that sounds like you're coming like on a stereo.
No, I said like also another like porn series Coming in Stereo. It sounds like
But see, my mind doesn't think that way as a father of 4. Like, I don't think about coming all over a stereo. I just thought it was a cool name. But so what we did was we just put a bunch of names in a hat and no one knew what the names were. So when we pulled it out, we could be like, that's awful. So you're not really hurting anyone's feelings, even though I like cried in a corner with a tissue. But yeah, I mean, Pack wasn't even in there. It was just one of those things where we had picked a bunch of names and no one liked any of them. We just took our time. We've been extremely patient, which is something I've struggled with over the years in bands, but we're just taking our time. So
Yeah, patience is a virtue,
It literally
as
is.
they say. And when it comes to doing anything creative, I think the best thing that you can do is not give a shit. It seems so counterproductive.
Yep.
But honestly, whenever I just let go and don't give a shit, I somehow get more done than
Yeah.
when I'm stressing about things.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it works.
Well, I think we were talking about the honeymoon stage, and I think one of the really sort of lucky things that happened was, Josh has been on tour, Chris has been on tour, like you've been on tour. I had to take 5 months off because I had a baby very early on, which was
Baby tour.
Yeah, very cool because I joined the band. We started making music. We decided we liked each other. And then I was like, oh, also, by the way, I might need a couple months off in about 7 months because I'm going to have a baby. And everyone was like, oh, cool. Yeah, it was. There was no, I mean, not that it should be, it should be assumed that women can be a mother and also be in a band and show up and still make great music. But you always, I don't know, you always have that concern that you shouldn't, but you always have that concern that someone's going to have a response that isn't great to that. And everyone was so encouraging and there was never a doubt that it was going to still work. And, but because of that, we had a couple different forced hiatuses. So we've been like doing a ton of communication by email, a ton of recording and sending stuff back and forth, which has kind of allowed us to flesh out exactly what we want to do even before we show up to practice. So that has been, I think, kind of a blessing in disguise.
Oh, for sure. I mean, this day and age, you know, it's almost 2020. So I have a little home studio in my basement.
It's 2020.
We're going to live in the 20s. Should
Yeah.
we start wearing like suits and like bow ties and stuff again? Or
Yeah.
I think it's going to be cool. But yeah, I mean, I guess my point is I have a little home studio in my basement. So I'm the drummer, which is one of the most, it's the hardest thing to record in my opinion. So I've always tried to master the craft.
Absolutely.
Which is something I'm very passionate about. But so we'll get together and practice, and like Josh will come with a riff, or Scott or Chris or whomever, and we'll kind of just structure a song and just get like a baseline of an idea. And then I'm just where my being impatient comes into play, which I think is actually a good thing. In this case, for demoing, I will like the next day lay down my drums and get them to sound good, and then I'll send them over to Josh next, and he'll lay down his guitar parts, and then from there it goes to Scott, then Chris on bass, and then Kelly gets it last, and we don't even see each other.
Yeah, no, it's huge.
It's awesome.
It's huge.
It makes it so much easier.
The first time that happened, I was like, oh, yes, this is what it's like being in a band when you're in your 30s and 40s, because it's not like, oh, someone said they were going to do something and then they never did it. And we sort of have an idea and we're going to practice for 3 weeks. It was like, oh no, like, we're writing the song.
Oh no.
No. There you go.
I didn't take the sticky stuff off because I want to use it again.
Yeah.
Look at this promotion though. It's incredible. Love it.
But yeah, that was very cool. The first time that happened. And then it happened every other single
for
time
sure.
someone has had a song idea. It's been like, okay, now this is immediately on the record.
And I've never done it in like other bands that I've had. Like in the previous bands I've been in, I don't know if it was just that time frame, but I think that everyone in this band's professional. They've toured, they've done their whole thing, and it's the excitement, honestly. It's the excitement of just putting the art together and like hearing what it sounds like. Like I can't wait until one of them is like, hey, I just like sent you our files over in Send Space. And I'm like immediately down there, and my kids get involved too. You know, they love it. Their age range from 3 to 8. My oldest daughter will be 9, but they're super into music. They play drums, guitar, and it's just, you know, it's like a dream of mine, honestly.
Yeah, no, it's super awesome. And if, you know robots are going to take over one day.
For sure.
It's going to happen. But in the meantime, before that does happen, let's utilize this technology to our benefit.
Definitely.
And if you play in a band or do art or something like that, like working and writing music like this, it's so productive. You know, we do stuff like this with both Gray Walker and Sikes, where just ideas get thrown around because we can't see each other all the time.
Yep.
But everybody has our fucking phones.
Yep, exactly.
And, you know, we can send files, get ideas, fuck around with little riffs here and there. Everybody has a couple extra hours, you know, in a week to do that. And then when we do get together, it's like, okay, we're all caught up. Let's just
definitely
start doing the stuff.
How often do you do that anymore? Do you get together and practice in
we try to do once a week for both projects. With Sikes, it's less like band practice and more like studio stuff. Like we're doing a lot of pre-production for the new album right now.
Nice.
So like as we write, we're pretty much doing pre-production since it's like a hip hop base. So I'm like programming out all the drums and the synth stuff, and then they'll come over and we'll start laying down bass and guitar and like getting like chunks of songs together and like, oh, like maybe this chorus should be shorter. Maybe it should, you know, like we can actually just take everything and move it in the DAW versus like, let's play it again.
Yeah.
Play it again.
Yeah.
Play it
That's
again.
Awesome. I think that kind of taps in a little bit of a different creative place, because you're, instead of just like writing and writing and writing or playing and playing and playing, you're editing.
Yeah.
Editing yourself while you're going.
And I like being able to like really get really nitpicky with nuanced stuff. Like we'll demo vocals and like maybe Mandy will do some weird melody thing. And like all of a sudden it's like, okay, now that's kind of clashing with the bass line that Justin's playing. But if Justin retracts just like shifts a couple things, now it's tight. And actually being able to hear it, like that's a lot of stuff that you miss when you're in a practice space. You don't always hear everything. And then you're in the studio on your dime and you catch it. And then all of a sudden you're trying to do this cool little thing, but it's costing you an extra $50 or whatever you're paying to be there.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was just talking to Chris about recording, and I almost think at this point I've learned I need to do like a fake recording before I do the actual recording, because there's something about the pressure to be like, this is the last.
Pre-production.
Yeah, I guess there's a word for that. But there's like something about the pressure of being like, okay, this is the last time I'm going to sing this. That I get a ton of new melody ideas. I'm like rethinking my lyrics. I'm like thinking about parts everyone else could be playing. And I think you hear me, like as soon as I am recording anything, I immediately texting out to you guys like, hey, how come we did it this way? And like, why is this set up this way? And why didn't like maybe we could revisit this part? And it's always like, it's too late. But it's not too late, but it's.
And that's where like I didn't mean to interrupt, but I didn't want to forget this point. So pre-production is so key, especially within PAC, because once you get to that studio atmosphere where you're spending like $5,000 to thousands of dollars, which we get a Dave Heidick at the church, and we use Garrett at Tree Lady for mastering, just to give them a little shout out. We've dealt with Dave for years and Garrett, but we're very prepared
friends.
because we have those
talented
demos.
Friends.
Exactly.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we have those demos in pre-production, and I play to a BPM live, a click track. So literally, we just give the songs to Dave, and then he imports them, and then I have my click and the demo right there. And we already know, it's a smooth transition, a smooth process. And I feel like, if you're a younger band, to kind of give you guys advice if you're listening in, just be prepared. Be prepared. Like, I guess, okay, so that's like a good topic. What advice do you give like a young band these days? Like, it's so different from when we were young and MySpace was just coming in. That was like huge.
I always tell people, just even on this topic, like I think being able to use the technology, everybody has phones, everybody has some computer, even if it's one that's like 5 years old, it will work. Get a cheap little interface and start learning how to self-demo. Even if what you're doing, it doesn't sound great, it doesn't matter. Just having that ability to actually play back everything and really hear it outside of the practice space will make you focus better on writing better songs.
For sure.
And when you get into the studio, having the knowledge of how things work will give you better communication with the producer or whoever is engineering, and you can talk with them about things. So if like you don't agree with something, instead of like, oh, I want that to be louder, or I think that's too loud, you could be like, yo, I think the compressor you're putting on my vocals is crushing all the dynamics and I don't like it. And then, so you can be more knowledgeable and have them know what you want. And it helps.
No, for sure.
Knowledge is power, motherfuckers.
It is totally power. And that's like where we're at right now. We so like our 2020 plans, we just recorded 4 brand new songs, and literally like we go back and forth. We have a Dropbox with Dave, our producer engineer, and we're at like mix number 8 for like some of the songs. Like, it's just the attention to detail that he puts in. It's cool because he gives us ideas, but we could also say, hey, like, you're missing this guitar part that Josh had played. Could you boost that up? And like, we have the references and just make things so much easier.
Another thing that I think that I would give advice to like younger bands, not necessarily like age wise, but just like the age of the band itself, like the project, is I think that with the technology, it's really easy to want to record stuff before the songs are ready. And when we're in this realm where we don't have the time or the means to be like, okay, well, we're touring on these songs for a year before we record them. And like, you're really playing them and you're learning all those nuances and changes on stage. I think that helps so much if you can have the patience to really let the songs grow.
For sure.
But for a lot of projects, it's hard to do that. But sometimes it's also easy to record the songs before they're really ready.
Oh, for sure.
And then you end up with things where it's like, well, it's too late to do that. So also like exercising some patience, even if you don't want to, is something that I would definitely recommend.
Definitely. And it's like, I feel like some younger bands like tend to overproduce. And so like when you see the band live, it's like, they don't even sound like that because they added like so many backing tracks, and try to be authentic. Like, I think that's one thing PAC captures is, like the harmonies from like the guitar playing, the drum work, the samples that I create, it's all there live. So we sound pretty authentic, and a lot of bands don't have that.
But I think there's no right way to do it. I mean, there is interesting recording that couldn't be replicated live, and you wouldn't want it to be. And I think like there's a difference between like just going in to record something and making it that moment in time. So I think I wouldn't even give band advice on that. I would say just do what feels right.
Yeah, but I could agree with that.
Another thing that I would say, and I believe maybe I've talked about this before with another guest, is finding the right producer for you and not just going to somebody because they record music. Because it may not be the right producer. Or I've known bands that have like fallen victim to this thing where they get in contact with somebody that's like, oh, this person produced a Weezer track or this person did this and that. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, but your band sounds nothing like that. And then they work with them and it's like, Yeah, I know. I definitely talked about this recently, but it was like, I listen, it's like you see them live and like there's all this great energy and things like that. And then I hear the recording and it's like, this feels like I licked a wet nap.
Yeah, it doesn't
like
capture
it's so
what they-
sterile
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
clean and safe and overproduced. And like, it's not necessarily it's overproduced. It's just like you're trying to take something that's supposed to be gritty and like, you know, squeeze it in this suit that it doesn't fit.
For
And
sure.
It just looks like awkward and uncomfortable.
And that's funny you say that because like Dave just sent us new mixes of one of our songs and he said, you know, after I step back and re-listen to it, you guys are a loud band, like guitar driven, like heavy drums, and you know, listen to this louder version versus like the original version, which, you know, we got mastered and whatnot. But that's very true. Like we're a loud band and that's what he sees. And that's the kind of direction we ended up going with.
And I think something that's really important with music is like dynamics. I think every song should be a roller coaster. And like the more dynamics that you can pack into the band, no pun intended, or pun intended, would be to, you know, like, yeah, you are a loud rock band, but, you know, you also have like this like, crazy, you know, really guitar driven music, but with like a strong female vocal. And that's always like a dynamic that always works if it's done correctly. But it's also really easy sometimes, I think, for maybe a producer to be like, oh, there's a female vocal on this. So maybe the music's too, maybe it should be, we should bring it down and make it a little bit safer and cleaner because, you know, it's like, I don't know. It's something that I've seen happen.
And we went back and
talking,
forth.
like thinking about the band that I am talking about. It's like exactly the situation that it happened.
Oh,
It's
for
just
sure.
like, you know, we want to present this in a different way because it's a female driven band.
Yeah, I'm so sick of hearing that phrase. Like,
Yeah.
and even hearing you say like when there's a female vocal, like it makes me cringe because I didn't come up and say like you're a great male podcaster and you're a great male drummer. Like if I hear that one more time, I'm gonna lose it.
in terms of what I'm thinking about is it's just like, you know, like a lot of female vocals just have a different like sonic delivery to their voice a lot of the time. So like when you're thinking about like a sonic mix of things, having like a real heavy mix with like the frequency range where a female vocal tends to sit and like, you know, the right delivery and dynamics of vocal things like that can mesh together and it makes a really, really cool sound that I like to hear.
There's a higher end vocal. Is what you're trying to
And
say.
that's like with our first batch of mixes that we got, if you remember, like your vocals were extremely out front and we were like, we're not necessarily trying to be a pop band. And like Kelly has an amazing, beautiful voice. I always commend her on that. And
Too much.
yeah,
I
probably
appreciate
too
it.
much. She's always sending the blush face emojis and whatnot. But I'm very happy to like have someone like her. She's extremely talented, but you can't forget that her voice is also like an instrument. You know, you want it to set right with the other instruments, not, you know, it's not the Kelly show, it's the Pack show.
Well, it's like thinking about like something like like a band that I like, one of my favorite bands of all time is Paramore. I think they're a phenomenal rock band. But can you picture those songs with a male vocalist?
No.
Like I can't. I feel like it would just be a different thing. It would just be such a different thing. There's just something about Hayley Williams' vocal delivery and the way that they used her voice with writing those songs. Like everything was kept in mind so perfectly with songwriting and production.
Yeah.
And it was really
did she
cool.
write the songs?
Well, no, I mean the bands wrote the songs. I don't know what their writing process was like, but at the end result was something where it was like everything, this like the way the guitars were tuned and recorded and the tones and everything and the way that like her vocals sit in the mix. It's insane how good the mixes are in those albums.
I love
Brand
Zach Farah's drumming.
Yeah.
It's funny because I use triggers for like our home demos, and there's like literally in Steven Slate triggers, it says Paramore Kit because
Oh, awesome.
and they're in Brand New Eyes, which is like my favorite record of theirs personally.
I just did my top 10 albums of the decade, and Brand New Eyes was on that. I think it's
unbeatable,
it's
man.
one of the best rock albums of my lifetime. It's a great record.
And after like the Farah brothers quit, which, you know, obviously Zach's back in the band, what drives me nuts about Paramore is the fact that like they kind of just market themselves as the three of them now, but they have all these incredible musicians. And like I hate when bands don't give other musicians credit. Like Green Day, like they have that extra guitar player. He's been with them for like 15, 20 years at this point, but they never, you know.
I think it's like when your band becomes a brand,
An image,
it escapes you. It's just one of those things where it's like, who knows what Green Day wants to do? Who knows what Paramore wants to do?
Yeah.
It's like they're they have to answer to dad or mom, whoever the boss is in the situation at this point. So it's like, this is what we're going to market. This is what people know Paramore is. It's the three of you. That's it. I don't give a shit if you want Jeff to be in the photo.
Exactly.
Nobody knows who the fuck Jeff is. He's not going to be in the photo.
Poor Jeff.
Yeah, no, poor Jeff. Yep. So yeah, I do get it. But I think that, they're a great band. And like, the whole, like, anytime I get a lot of press kits and stuff because for some reason people think that I promote shows or like I'm a radio station. Like my email must be on some like DIY music blog somewhere. And like you always get press kits for things where it's like, female fronted rock band with 5 million views on YouTube. And it's like, what did you just, I don't.
Yeah.
What
is when you turn like someone being a female in the band into like a niche thing. It like there's so many amazing female musicians, and when you treat it as like a marketing tool or a selling point, and I can't imagine that the female musician in that band was like, oh, make sure you tell them it's a female. There's a female in the band.
Yeah.
But like when you treat it as a marketing tool, it like disregards that. Like, why have I don't know. It's weird.
I understand where you're coming from 100% because I'm the same way. It's like I grew up listening to all different kinds of music. There's always been females in music. It's not like some new wacky thing for me.
And
you know what I mean?
When you
like
call that out, it treats it like it's a niche thing or like it's a marketing point to be celebrated rather than just like play more female musicians and then it won't be a niche thing. Like give more attention to female musicians and then it won't be I
think that but maybe on the flip, there's some people that maybe like knowing that in a positive way. It'll help gravitate them towards it. Like, oh, like I like rock music, but I'm tired of hearing music with men in it. And maybe that is a demographic of people that you are into or you're not into, but those people out there exist. They probably like rock music, but they're tired of hearing white men in their rock music. So they want to hear female fronted music.
There's plenty of it.
Yeah, there's plenty of it.
Fleetwood Mac.
But you may not know if it's not advertised. I don't know. I'm not a manager, but I imagine how sleazy marketing can be when it comes to things. It's like, what can we do to make sure people, best-selling female author J.K. Rowling.
Yeah. Mind-blowing.
We get it.
Yeah.
But
sorry,
some people need to know.
You caught me at a pain point.
No, it's fine.
No, I think it's great.
These are good things to talk about.
And another thing.
Because obviously, if anybody has an opinion on this that should be heard, it would be you, person in band that may or may not be female. Right?
Right.
I want to take this to a different topic as just an awful joke, but I think it's funny personally because we just talked about Harry Potter. So occasionally I'm a hired gun, which is a good documentary on Netflix called Hired Gun. You should definitely check it out. But I play with an emo band on occasion. I fill in for Corey. And Nate Hall, Nate Hall.
I do.
And he always tells this joke. He doesn't always tell it, but sometimes I'm like, tell the Harry Potter joke just because we just mentioned that topic. How does Harry Potter get around?
I don't know.
Walking. J.K. Rowling.
Push the button.
Oh.
J.K. Rowling.
I get it.
Yeah, I know.
Next time use the comma though. Like
J.K. Rowling. Hold on, let me do that again.
Button.
Do you want to wait on the button?
No, press the button. Press.
Excellent.
Love it. That's normally how people react in different cities too, to be honest with you.
That's one that it takes a second to think about
exactly.
it. And then when it hits, I could not give less of a shit. I'm just like, oh, okay.
And some people don't even know who J.K. Rowling is.
Oh yeah, that's a joke. That's how I feel about that.
Oh yeah, that's a thing that happened.
You could edit that out if you want. I know it's all.
No, we'll keep it in.
More of those. More button pushing moments. That's what we're looking
for. I like the buttons. It's
all
cool.
right. We'll get more buttons pushed. Speaking of pushing buttons and female fronted rock bands and pushing buttons. So I'm playing a show next month with a female fronted rock band.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and a male drummer.
Actually,
I'm not even in the band.
I'm playing a show with 2 female fronted rock bands.
Yes, you are.
And technically, Sikes and the New Violence is half female fronted. So yes, Sikes and the New Violence, Dinosoul.
Girls.
Yeah,
Impact.
girls' night out, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
There should have been a girl playing that arcade cabinet on the flyer.
I know, right?
Let people know. Girls are invited.
Yeah.
Girls are invited, please.
No, all jokes aside, we're playing a show. Tell the people about it.
Black Forge Coffee, which I'd like to give a shout out to Ashley because she does a wonderful job. This is
Female-fronted business owner.
Yeah.
Also a woman.
Also a woman. She's
Believe
awesome.
women are in the world. It's crazy.
Turns out.
Yeah.
So it is January 18th, 7 p.m. doors. Sikes and New Violence, Pack, and Dinosoul. It's going to be a great lineup. What else do you have to do in the dead of winter other than go see awesome rock bands? And so 7 p.m., Black Forge and McKees rocks, $10 to get in. Come support local music is something I always like to stress because, Justin made a point. He posted something on Facebook not too long ago, like 2 or 3 months ago. And he just said, I want to make it a point to go support more local bands because I always ask people to come see my bands. And I think it's something we all have to stick together in like this tight knit community is just support one another with, our projects. And, I've been fortunate enough to be in the local scene since my early 20s. And it's cool to see where it's come over the years, with all the different venues. I remember playing at Graffiti when I was like 13 years old in my first pop punk band.
All right, Grandpa.
Let me tell you the story. But it's a good time to be in a Pittsburgh band. I mean, there's so much good Pittsburgh music happening, and it's lucky that it's not a chore. That like you feel lucky on any day of the week that you can go see a great local band. Like
it's so funny the way that you feel attacked by female fronted.
Let's let it go.
No,
it is a pain point. But every time I hear it, it makes me like, I think I want to have a response that like when it's female fronted or female vocalist, I want to be like male drummer. Like really, are we calling this out now?
No, but no, that feeling that you get, I get on a small scale when people are talking about local bands.
Yeah.
I feel like that term is like, it is what it is. Like, yes, we are a local band, but why can't we just be a band?
Yeah.
And there's this thing where it's like, like support local music. It's like, I don't give a fuck if you support local music. Just support music. Like, I don't give a fuck if you're only passionate about Taylor Swift.
Sure.
Just be passionate about it. Share it with people and just be positive. I hate all this like underdog sort of mentality, like they're stepping us down and we're never gonna make it because we're local musicians. It's like it's just an excuse.
What is making
You're just
it,
a fucking band. But
like we talked about downstairs, what is making it? Like you said that some of your friends tour and they're almost envious of like us. Like I have a normal job. I have 4 kids. I love to play drums and I'm extremely passionate. And yes, I would like it would be cool to play in front of millions of people and make millions of dollars.
I think if your definition of success is based on somebody else's life, you're always going to fail.
Exactly.
It has to be your own definition. You have to set your own rules and what's right for you. And what's right for me is not going to be right for you. Or maybe there could be coincidental things where it's like, we're on the same page. But
when Guys Weekend hits it big, which that was the name of your rap project,
my rap project,
then we'll have another conversation because that's going to change things, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, he'll bring us all along for the ride.
It's just relaying a message via art. And maybe it'll help someone going through a rough time or has anxiety or depression or thinks about suicide. Maybe they hear your message and it prevents them from doing something or makes them put a smile on their face. To me, that's music. And it's cool with music to be able to look back and have that song remind you of a time in your life. That's what music's about. It's not about making a ton of money or riding in a tour bus. Like, listen, I've toured in vans. It's not everything it's cracked up to be. I mean, it's cool to like share that with your friends.
I
think too, it's okay to realize like there's something about, I mean, it's great to share what you're making and to have great relationships, but there is something about making music and making art in general that is just a selfish act. Like it's for me, it's meditative and it's fun and it keeps me sane and it's how I like live the rest of my life in a healthy way. But it's also just like, it's nice to be able to tap on that place in your brain and also just like have the luxury to do that. Like it's really a luxury to be able to make music and make music with people you like. So I think that's how I look at it, at least.
It's how I express myself. I'm 37 years old, and I'm thankful that I still get to do this.
Are
And
we still talking about Guys Weekend here?
not Guys Weekend. I think we'll talk about Pack a little bit, but it's just one of those things that I've been doing since I was a young kid, and I'm very passionate about it. And I draw and I paint, and she's an artist, and I think we all have things that, it's a way to express ourselves. And, when you lose sight of that and you, like we talked about business, that's where it becomes unfun, and that's where bands tend to fail because it's no longer fun. So I hope that we always stay in this honeymoon stage because it is really fun. We look forward to getting together, and like she's one of my new best friends. Like I didn't really know Kelly prior, and Chris is one of my new best friends, and Scott, I've known Scott for years, but like we never really got in a room, and now I've learned like all these other things about my new friends that I would have never known, and it's because of music, which is awesome.
I liked how you called Josh your long-term friend. Is that what you called him?
He's like one of my best friends.
Your long-term friend. And I've never heard that before. It's like you've been in a long-term relationship. My long-term friend.
I mean,
That's so sweet.
I mean, that's what he is. And like, you're all my friends, we're not just people in a room. And I think you need to be really good friends in order to spend as much time that you can in a band. I mean, if we hop in a van, which eventually I hope that we'll do some weekend runs, and that's a plan, but we're also parents, so we're not going to just tour the world. You know what I mean? You have to be able to get along with one another, or it's not going to work. So
yeah, at very least, you not hate them.
Yeah.
No, it's always fun to, even if you're only going out for a few days, to go play a place that you've never played, or maybe somewhere you haven't been in 5 years, and try out your music in front of a group of people that don't know who you are or give a fuck, and if you can get them to buy a shirt at the end of the night, like, cool. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You made a complete stranger,
How
be into your
special is
stuff.
that?
It's a really cool moment to be able to do that. And I think it's just like, because in that moment you're not the local band, you're just a band, and it's like, I just want local bands in whatever city you're in to stop being like, we're the local band. Just say you're a band. And if you're going out to a show, like, hey, we're going to go see some bands. We're going to go see some local bands.
Yep.
Whenever you go out to eat, you're not like, we're going to go to some local restaurants this weekend. You're like, we're just going to go to a restaurant. There's a new place that opened up. Heard it's good.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, hey, there's a band. Heard they're good. Let's go see them. Like
that's what it's about.
That whole like dynamic of people that'll be like, hell yeah, like home team, independent restaurants, all about it. I don't care if I have to spend an extra $15 on a plate of food. It's local. And then local band, fuck that. It's such a weird thing.
It is, for sure.
Especially, I didn't even know that was a mentality out there. I sort of thought that people have their local bands, and you love them more because it's hometown pride.
I think it depends on your friend group. I think if you are connected with a lot of people in the music scene, and all of your friends are like in that peripheral music scene thing, then they get it. But I'm talking about like trying to get people that don't have friends that are in bands, people that just go out for fun.
Yeah.
Getting them more, because that's what we need to do. Like, I think it's real easy to get into this thing where it's like you make a band and you start playing shows and you're inviting people on the internet, and it's just people that are in bands. But like, if you actually want to build a fan base or get people to come out to shows, you got to invite people that aren't in fucking bands.
Yeah.
And get them to come.
I'm naive to that. I have friends that do all different things, but they've all been nice enough to always come see whatever bands are playing because they want to be out. And also, I think the nice thing is
everybody's different.
That's very true. The nice thing is too, like when you are having fun and doing what you're doing, then like a show is, you're going to see good music, but it's also like you're going to have a fun time. It's like a nice scene, so people like want to be out and be with people who are having fun doing what they're doing. So I think that's another nice thing about, like, it's never a chore to hang out with buddies, and I think it makes for a fun night. So that's another plug for our show, because like we're going to just go have fun.
I think that, it's really important. I talk about this a lot. Another thing that's important for bands that are starting out, especially bands that want to book their own shows and things like that, like your lineup and your location and everything matters so much. Because if you're a band of 30 somethings inviting a bunch of 30 somethings out, they're not coming out 100% to see your band. They want to make sure that maybe they can get something to drink. They're going to have a good time. They're going to get to see something cool. Like, they're dedicating their night out. They're getting some idiot teenager to watch their kids, or they're doing this and that, and they got to figure out a lot of stuff to come see you. So you better make sure that like it's an enjoyable place for them to be.
Yeah.
Exactly.
With a clean place to pee.
Yeah.
Damn it.
I've peed in some really crappy bathrooms over the years.
Oh,
but
yeah. It's like a badge of honor.
there will be a clean place to pee, just so you're all aware.
At Black Forge, yes, there will
Spread
be.
the word. If that's the only reason you come, because you need a clean place to pee,
It's funny. I was trying to think of like how we could promote the show, because it's like in the dead of winter and you want people to come out to see your local band. But now we could just say, you know, a clean place to pee is the place to be.
Yeah.
Come on, Brian. What do you have to say to me?
Button. Hit the button.
I'm not going to start the beat again. But what I will say is spread the word. Black Forge, healthy place to drop a turd.
Ooh. Hit the button.
That was
Don't
awesome.
So with being friends, since you're supposedly friends with each other
Yep.
in the
Okay.
band, thing I like to talk about, we're talking about local restaurants, local. Is there a place where Pac likes to go, maybe after a show, maybe after a practice, or anywhere? Do you ever take the time to maybe like get together, eat somewhere, drink somewhere? Do you got like a local haunt?
Well, Justin has this great pool in his backyard, and I have been trying to get invited to a pool party for a year. So we're going to do that.
The Pac pool party.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
It sells
sounds
itself.
like a blast, right?
Yes.
It does sound like a good time. It's not all it's cracked up to be, but no, it's pretty cool. But
Cannonball.
yeah, I mean,
I can see it now.
it's funny because now that like I'm 37 years old, I have 4 kids, I'm a drummer. So like the drummer thing was always there.
male
Like
drummer.
I'm a
male
male
drummer.
drummer.
Go
A
on,
male
sorry.
backed band with a male drummer. But like for me, because I'm the drummer and it's a pain in the ass to lug your shit everywhere, like I've always just, hey, come over to my garage, or now I have like my own little studio in my basement. Come here, it's convenient. And you know, you could hear my kids running around upstairs. I mean, my oldest daughter does like dance and gymnastics, so there's always like flips
That's
and
awesome.
loud,
That's
you know.
great.
So you're trying to demo and there's like all these loud noises. If I mute like different instruments at my house, you could hear like my kids screaming and stuff. It's funny,
So
but
fun.
but yeah, I mean, there's not a particular place, but to your point, I do advertising professionally for the past 15 years. So that is near and dear to my heart, local businesses, back to the local term. But yeah, it's really hard to have a business. And I pride myself in trying to go to all these different establishments like your Black Forge Coffee and local places around the Pittsburgh area, because I see what people do and invest in marketing with me, and they trust me. It's hard, man.
So
and
if you want the brain behind a clean place to pee, that great motto that we just figured out, this is your guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a
You
ton of
too
places I'd love to
could
name
have
drop, but yeah, I mean, as far as Pac, we're pretty low key. We just hang out at my house.
It's mostly in
and
Justin's basement.
It's in my basement.
For
okay?
talking about how grown up we are,
yeah.
we might as well be at like, you know, our mom's house.
There's
and
nothing better than being at home, honestly.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, okay, I have a house that I like, and I worked a lot to
Yeah.
get this place, and I have it set up the way that I want, and everything's all perfect. It's my space, right?
Exactly.
Then it's like, okay, I have a night off. Let's go out. Let's not spend time in this place that I worked for the past fucking 10 years to build up. Let's
Yeah, it's funny.
go out.
Yep.
So like, it's funny. Like I'm not very old. I'm 34 and I just turned 34, and I'm very like,
Happy
just
birthday.
now. Thank you. I'm just getting into this mindset now where like, if I have a weekend off where it's like, I don't no longer feel the need to go out. Like I feel like I lived in Southside for a long time, so I
There you
feel
go.
like that was like, it was like in my bloodstream for a while. I haven't lived in Southside for a few years, and now it's finally kicking in where if I don't have anything to do, I can actually just hang out at home and do nothing, and I feel good
Isn't it
about
great?
it.
Well, I think too, as a creative person, like you're an artist and a musician, like you need time for nothing. And I think it's funny to try to marry being a social person and being and you know, like wanting to go see music and wanting to experience your town, and also having time alone to one, recharge, and two, like spend time doing the work, because I think that's what you do when you have time off, is you if you're passionate about it, you do more of what you love. So it's like and that's, I don't know, something I've worked. I still haven't figured it out, but
Yeah, my like whole life operates off of Google Calendar, and I'm really good at, if I get everything in my calendar done, instead of just being like, oh, I did everything I wanted to do today. Time to relax. I'm like, oh, let's see if I can get a head start on shit for tomorrow.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
It's good to have one of those kind of minds.
Yeah.
I do not.
It's bad. I'm getting back to just being able to, like, if I get everything done, just like, okay, let's sit down and, catch
Just
up with
chill.
The Mandalorian or something.
Ooh, are you watching that?
Hell yeah, I am.
Me too. I just watched the most recent one last night.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I think it's
We could
fucking
take this
sick.
off. Yeah.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I am somebody that I'm a pop culture guy.
Mm-hmm.
I have Ninja Turtle tattoos. I grew up in all this shit. I'm a child of the 90s.
Yep.
But I'm also I have a very healthy distance when it comes to, like, letting it affect me negatively. Like, a lot of people will be like, oh, the new Star Wars movie is gonna be shit, and it's like, who cares? It's fucking Star Wars. Like,
Yeah.
watch it. It's not gonna be great. It's a science fiction movie. It's fine. Just watch it, enjoy it. It's like people that get, like, real bent out of shape
Yeah.
and things, or, like, get, like, really deep into, like, all these, like, fan theories and stuff like that. Like, I'm glad it exists, but when it, like, enters a toxic place,
That's not part of the canon.
yeah, just like shut up.
My husband is a real big Star Wars fan, and it's one of the reasons that I love Star Wars so much is because he has such a just pure joy for it and just excitement for it. So, we watched the movies together when we were dating early on, and just watching him, like, explain to me everything that's going on, and then this happens, and then this was in one of these books, but and now it's not part of the canon anymore. Like, he knows everything, and it's so. It's like, of course it's, like, attractive to see people when, like, talk about what they're passionate, but it's also just like, it warms my heart to hear him talk about it. And one of the things he said when we went to see we went to see Rogue One, which was awesome. That was my favorite recent one that's been released. But he was like, we can spend time criticizing it, but isn't it just nice to have more? So, like, something you love, isn't it just nice to have more of it?
What I said about Rogue One after I saw it, I was like, are you familiar with Mad Mex, the restaurant chain in Pittsburgh? Shout outs. Rogue
Local restaurant.
Rogue One is the Mad Mex of Star Wars movies. No, because it's like not great, but it's good, and I'll go and I'll enjoy it.
See, I thought it came from such a different place. Like, I was watching it and thinking, this is a war film. Like, it was just such a different slice of that universe. Like, it smacked of like a World War II movie or something when you're watching it, the way it's, like, in the battle scenes and the way it ends. Like, I
just thought it was fun and silly and lots of bang bang blow ups.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool.
Oh, but silly. It was like, hits you hard though, no? Like, it's...
I guess maybe that's where my emotional disconnect cuts off. Like,
I've never even seen a Star Wars movie, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I'm a big horror guy, so. But yeah, I know. Like, Josh was like, you have to, like, you don't watch Star Wars. And I'm like, I don't know, dude. It's just like,
yeah,
that's okay.
That's the other thing too. I'm not going to be the type of person that's ever be like, you have to see it. Like,
but like, how much fun is it to watch them with someone who's never watched before? Like, that
is fun.
And that's the way, like, that my husband Eric approached it with me. It was like, oh, this is great. Like, we get to watch these things together. And same thing with, like, you're a big Harry Potter fan?
No, I'm a big Fred head.
Yeah.
But you were talking about seeing Harry Potter. Your wife.
Oh, the Harry Potter thing.
So, like, how cool is it?
I was talking about Universal, the ride.
Time.
Mm-hmm.
You get to experience the joy that you had when you first were a part of something with someone.
Yeah, it's like these things are made for entertainment.
Yeah.
And if you're going to, like, let it get into this negative space, it's like time for some self-evaluation. There was all of this, like, crazy negativity going on around the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge that I kept reading about online before we went to Disney World. So, like, okay, like, this is supposedly going to be dog shit. Like, whatever. Hearing nothing but bad things about it, because that's all people want to do is spread bad things. And we went in there and walked around, and I was like, this is cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not great. I'm still in a theme park. I'm not convinced that I'm in fucking Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. It's a theme park.
But how can it be awful? Some of
like,
the most amazing minds in set design and in makeup are involved in creating this world for you. It's not going to be terrible. It's going to still, like, be exciting.
Yeah, people are so weird. And then when the Mandalorian started playing, I was like, this is really good. Why is nobody talking about this? I'm like, oh, because it doesn't suck. And then the first chance somebody had to say something about it was, there was I think episode 4 when they introduced the one female character, and they're like, the Mandalorian female portrayal is negative of, portraying females in a bad light. And I'm like, I don't know. It's Star Wars.
See that at all.
Yeah, that's the only time I started hearing people talking about the Mandalorian was like people throwing shade at it because there was like women working in the field in the one episode whenever and it's like, I don't know, it just seems like there was males and females working together to have their little community
fighting together. And
it's just like nobody wants to talk about anything unless they can talk shit because that's what,
because they have a platform with social media.
You get a bunch of angry clicks and then they get all their little ad revenues and things and they make their money off of hate.
What if we talk about positive things, like, hey, that movie's great, it's art. Like, how about Ghostbusters? Have you seen the new preview for that? Are you
Afterlife?
Dude, I'm like,
it seems fine.
I've been waiting for a sequel since the 80s, like since I was a little kid, And
one thing that I haven't watched the female Ghostbusters from 2016. I've been wanting to sit down and check it out.
It is, yeah.
I've heard that it's like total dog shit, but I want to watch it. I've heard nothing but bad things about it.
That's because there's the people who want like the sequel, and it's a totally different.
It's different, but it's a joyful movie, just like the first one was. Like, it's.
But there's backlash now because people say that they're shitting on that movie because it was female friendly. Like, no, it's just this is like a sequel from the original, and that was like its own remake entity, and it's awesome. And why can't people just appreciate like everything as opposed to it's just shitting on everything?
It's Ghostbusters. Why do we have to make it? Why do we have to politicize this fucking like a comedy movie? But that's how everything is right now. Everything has to be. I don't know.
Maybe it's just
your political agenda is attached to literally every single thing that you do, from like what you watch on TV to the shoes you wear to how you style your hair. It's
I just wonder if it was like this back like when we were growing up, or is it just more known now because of social media and we have a platform?
We all have way too much information. That's the problem.
I also think, and not to get too deep into it, but the stakes are higher. Like, I think politically, like things have gotten extreme. So you want to attach your opinion to things because it's like, if I'm not pissed off about this, what am I going to be pissed off about? And that's where we'll leave that.
I live my life like, not to talk politically at all, because I don't even want to go down that road. Like Katie, I don't talk politics, but as long as I wake up and like my kids are safe and there's not bombs and shit like landing on my house, then I'm like, cool. Like my kids are healthy and they're safe.
That's a lucky way to think.
Yeah, I think that it's a way to think about it is social media in general is really funny because all of us have like hundreds of sometimes thousands of friends on our social media accounts. And it's like, how many relationships can we actually foster in the real world? It's like you can't, but we're attached to these things where we're convinced that we're connected with hundreds of people. We're really not, but we feel like we're supposed to be. So we feel like we lose sight sometimes of like what is most important. And that is just like everybody controlling making sure that their family is taken care of and those things, and make sure that stuff's in place before you start focusing on the rest of the world. And that's how the local music scene can be sometimes. Everybody's so focused on the bigger picture. And it's like, well, if your fucking band's falling apart, that's not a reflection of the rest of the scene. I feel like if the music scene is a neighborhood, everybody should just focus on their houses and make their house the dopest house it could possibly be. And then all of a sudden you have a cool neighborhood. And then you have little friendly block parties and everybody gets together and you have your little shows.
That is the perfect way to put it.
That's what it should be. And then with the politics thing, I don't really know what to say about it other than people
I don't even know what we're talking about.
I was just kind of like making an analogy between just the way people engage with so much stuff now, and people put a lot of things on their plate because everybody's taking in so much information. And with like politics in general, sure, there's crazy shit going on, and like I think there's always been crazy things that have happened in the world, but a lot of things and a lot of sorts of entertainment I think were created to be temporary escapes from these sorts of things.
And now it's like you can't even watch football without
but now it doesn't happen. It's like we're not even allowed to watch a Star Wars movie without having to be reminded of what's going on. Not saying that like you should be forgetful or ignorant to the world, but also like I should be able to watch like SpongeBob SquarePants and not have to deal with
or South Park.
The South Park's a different story. I think that's the whole reason that show exists.
Yeah, exactly.
But like very simple things. It just seems like there's hardly any entertainment that I can watch without being reminded of it.
Yeah.
And then like it's a bit of a bummer, but I totally get it.
Yeah.
The world doesn't revolve around me and my personal interests. You gotta empathize with what other people want to do. But it just seems like really shitty when people use like, it seems like sometimes it gets shoehorned in to like market something in the way that like a female fronted does. It's just like, oh, this is like, we're woke. And like, okay, it's cool. But also like, this is SpongeBob SquarePants.
Exactly. Can't we just enjoy the art for what it is without like having an opinion or criticizing it or, you know?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Strange times. We're all figuring it out. The world's moving really fast. It's hard to keep
How
up.
dare you wear that green shirt for your podcast today?
Yeah. This is the only green shirt I have.
Which it's typo negative, and like I grew up listening to them in the early 90s. So like I think it's badass, you know?
Thanks. That's nice of you.
Hey, no problem, man.
It's nice.
Yeah.
It's I think another thing too, and I had mentioned this with Katie, and this is where I'm going to end the political thing, is it's like a lot of people don't want to talk about it, and I understand that, but I also wonder in dialogues, if you open it up, how many people actually know what they're talking about? Like everybody has so much different information, so it's hard to even think about it or talk about it.
Yep.
Because there's so much going on. It's like the Star Wars canon. It's like I don't know what is from what or who's on what side. What's who was a Jedi, who's the dark side, what planet is what. I don't know.
I can tell you who's on the. Or should we still talking politics? I can tell you who's on the dark side.
I want to know what I do want to know. I'm just gonna make an assumption because I'm a Ninja Turtles guy too. I grew up with the playing cards and just everything, man. I'm gonna say your favorite's Michelangelo. That's mine, but who is your favorite?
So in my later years, I've definitely gravitated towards Raphael, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah. Mikey was my childhood favorite. I would say if you're into spirituality and like yin and yang, my yin and yang would be Michelangelo.
Okay.
And Raphael. But honestly, I think there's maybe a little bit of Donatello in me. And maybe a little bit of Leonardo too.
Sure.
I've been a leader, and sometimes I've been a bit of a tech nerd.
Mm-hmm. They all like pizza, right?
Probably Michelangelo is probably the one that I relate with the least.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm not much of a party dude.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more about, I don't know. I'm more about like being responsible and grumpy, I think.
So Raphael. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like pizza dude's got 30 seconds, man. Like, I don't know. I'd consider myself like a Michelangelo. Like whenever I was telling her earlier, like I'm a pushover when it comes to my kids. Like I just like I like to have that mentality. They'll ask me like, "Hey, Dad, could I have that cookie or could I have that ice cream?" I'm like, yeah, dude.
Party dad.
Yeah.
But even like thinking about it, like with this podcast, I feel more like a splinter than anything else.
That's the 34ness in you.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yep. You're in the mid 30s. You start to, I guess, become mature. I don't know. I still feel like a kid. And I think that's like, it's funny, my grandfather, he's 84 years old. And I just feel like, embrace age because I think, I don't know, I had a hard time at one point, like leaving my 20s, going into your 30s, which I'd consider 30s the prime. But, my grandfather's 84 and I go up and see him once a month and I kind of take care of him. And, it's somewhat depressing because like I see like it really bothers him that he can't like get up and physically do the things that he wants to do. And it bothers me. But I guess my point is like we went to the doctors last week. I took him and he's been having like aches and pains in his knees. And I've been like, dude, take CBD. So he's been taking CBD oil. And so I wanted a nurse to reiterate it to him like, yes, keep taking CBD. Like it's the best miracle drug out there. And to the point where she actually convinced him to get his medical marijuana card. So like we're going through that. He just got the swab in the mail. We overnighted it to him. My aunt has a card. So it's like THC like that you could rub on with lotion. And I don't know what my point was with this little ramble, but I guess aging, just embrace age. Like my grandfather's 84, but he still acts like he probably did when he was a kid. Yeah. And we're all going to get to that point. And it's depressing for me to see because I love him so much. Like I'm super active like he is. And he's always like, just like never stop because you're going to get to a point and it bothers him that he can't get up and like take a walk down his like dirt road anymore. And, so just be a Ninja Turtle at heart.
Well, I think what's interesting, I'm going through all this like self-evaluation stuff, thinking about my life. And, very quick backstory. I was kicked out when I was 17. So I never went to college, couldn't afford it or anything, just started working and only child. So no brothers or sisters, lots of connections with most of my family for different reasons. And I was pretty much just like on this bubble where of like who I had matured to be at 17, I was kind of stuck in that for at least 10 years, if not more, just because it was like always like just paycheck, work. And I'm also doing music and art and watching cartoons and things like that. And like growing up for me was so much different because like there was no foundation for me to understand what being an adult was. Nobody in my family was very successful at anything. Shout outs to y'all wherever you are. And the people that I was around, I'm in like, you know, the local music scene, local music scene, art scene. And like, I'm around some responsible people, but a lot of like not very responsible people. And then like you get into this cycle where like you're getting older and older, but like I'm still like making music for people that are younger. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, now I'm 27 years old, still making music for 18-year-olds. And it's like, okay, like everybody, I'm still in the scene. I'm always around younger people. And like, okay. And then it starts to click in my head. Like, okay, like this is getting weird. I'm at a basement show and like there's a bunch of underage kids drinking. Why the fuck am I here? I'm like 28 years old. This is weird. And I'm like, it took time, but it started to click. And now I'm at a thing where, you know, what I probably should have been focused on 10 years ago. Now it's like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, let's focus more on the house. What is politics? Let's figure these things out. I'm just starting to actually pay attention to this shit because like, I don't know, now's a good time to because the world's a little bit wacky. And, but it's like the first time in my life where I'm thinking about all this stuff. And the end point is like, there is a dark side to being an artist where if you surround yourself with like rock star, immature type people, it can like really be a detriment to like your adult life moving forward.
For sure.
So I think that like sometimes it's really good to assess who you are around and make sure that the people you're around and you're playing in bands with or bands that you're playing with or places that you're playing, like those are healthy environments.
Yeah,
because it can really affect you as a person. Like to be in a situation where like, you know, like you said, like you were going to have a kid and you were joining this band. We're talking about this downstairs and or maybe it was up here. I can't remember at this point, but and like
we've been here for 14 hours.
It was cool because like you were talking about how everybody was comfortable with you being able to take that time off and they weren't intimidated by it. Whereas like if it was a group of people that just don't have their shit together or understand that there's a world that exists outside of the band, they may be like, oh, this is going to be the end of the band.
Yeah.
Like, we can't do this because like, I have no idea what responsibilities are. And
in your 20s, you would be so naive to think that. And that's like, great. You're making the point. When you're in your 20s, like, of course, I wanted to be a rock star and I wanted to do all this. But the older you get, you realize, you know, I mean, you have to have thick skin in this game. I mean, there's so many it's like, you know, someone saying you're too fat to be a model. You know, your song isn't good enough to be on the radio. You know, just do it because you're passionate about it. And that's whenever it becomes what it is, you know. Don't have all these expectations.
I feel like in most circumstances, if somebody tells you you can't do something, they're just saying they can't do it.
Exactly. And they're somewhat envious or jealous, really.
Yeah. And I mean, kudos to you because you've done a lot and it's cool
congrats,
to see.
Man.
But I also think it's cool to see someone who like gets into a place where they're building a life for themselves that they like it. And just, you said this before, but it's not based on a certain idea of, you know, what success is, but it's down. They've figured out what they want and what success looks like to them.
A few years ago, I was playing in a band with someone that said something to me that is probably one of the most infuriating things that anyone has ever said to me in my life.
Was it you're in a good local band?
No. I was playing in a band with this person and it was just one of these things where like, I don't know if it was like malicious intent, but basically they were just kind of like chastising me for like, you know, like, hey, like, I think that, you know, you need to do more for this band and like, we need to be like touring and this needs to be a focus and all of these things. And it's just like, I don't know right now. Like, I get where you're coming from, but my argument was just like, okay, I have a job that I care about a lot. I have a house that I care about a lot, a partner that I care about a lot. I'm fostering all of these things. Like my life and everything's here. Like I'm in a really healthy, good place. I've never been here before. And he was just like, it just sounds like you're just like taking the safe road, man.
It's just that makes me
fuck
itch.
you. Just because like you don't have anything positive going on for yourself, you're gonna put your negative shit on
just
me.
Want something different, you know?
It was so infuriating, but also like looking back on it, it was the first time that I like really realized, and I don't think this was his intention, was like I realized, fuck, like I'm actually in a really good place that like I'm getting upset about this.
You have something to defend,
like
which
I can't,
is pretty cool.
I don't want to
It's
take
a good thing.
Don't take what you have for granted. And I think it's really easy to do that. It's like thinking about it now.
Yeah.
They hate you because they ain't you.
I think that dude's in a better place now than he was then. So
way to go, dude.
Yeah, way to go, dude. If you know who you are, we're around each other. We no longer play in a band together, but I think that like, you know, he was just in a certain place. And some of that personal shit was kind of getting projected onto me. Empathy. That's a big thing that I'm
empathy is huge.
2019 empathy was my if closest thing to a New Year's resolution, I suppose, would be
I like that.
Understanding more people. When somebody's coming at me with some negative energy, you just got to figure out, okay, like what's going on with you.
And we've been talking a lot about like, I mean, we're going back and forth through this aging theme, which I think is kind of a funny thing. Maturing. But I think one of my favorite things about being a woman in my 30s instead of in my 20s is like, I know what I don't want to do, and I will say what I don't want to do. And it's like, just like you said, it's a good thing for someone to say like, hey, I think maybe you should be spending more. We need more of you in here. And for you to feel strongly like, nope, don't want to do that. Or like, nope, I feel good about what I'm doing. And being able to articulate that is something that, you know, not everyone has, and not everyone has had their whole life. So it's good to feel like the power of no, which welcome back to my TED Talk.
It was my therapist that actually helped me with that. And I go see one. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you need to talk to someone, you know, I was an only child growing up. So you and I share some of the similar qualities without going down that road, but phenomenal mother. But yeah, man, I guess my point is like, it's okay to talk to someone, and empathy is huge. And just to kind of reiterate those things like, hey, you're doing a great job, or to say no. That was one of the things I struggled with my whole life. Like anyone could ask me to do anything, like, and I'd be like, yeah, for sure. Like I could help you do this, this, and this. And then before you know it, like I have no time for myself. I didn't know who I was as a human being anymore. And you have to like find that. And it's okay to say no.
Sure. I think there was a thing with me and being, I don't know if it's an only child thing or if it's like an artist thing, where especially with music, where ultimately, even if you're making music by yourself, you want other people to hear it. So there's this thing where it's like this desperate need for social. And as a result, you end up start saying yes to everything just because like you want to have friends, you want to be in the scene, you want to be a part of things, you want to be active. So yeah, I'll help you do this. Yeah, I'll help you do this. And then like you said, all of a sudden it's just like, fuck, I'm helping everybody but myself.
Exactly. You have to make time for yourself. It's very important. And people tend to forget that.
Yeah. And also
hydration. Hydration is also very important.
I think that if you want, in order to like do something right, you have to actually want to do it. So it's always annoying when somebody's like telling you something that you should do that you don't want to do, and they can't get it through their head. It's like, I don't want to do this. So even if I do it, it's going to be half-assed. And what's the point?
Also, I think not giving I think it took me a long time to figure out you don't always have to give a reason. You know, you don't need a reason to not want to do something. You can just not want to do it. Yeah. And if it's not hurting anybody, and it's your prerogative, and you don't have to explain to someone.
Yeah, no. If my thing is like, okay, if somebody's not going to be understanding of what's going on in my life, fuck them.
Yeah, exactly.
I probably shouldn't have helped them in the first place. Ungrateful turds.
It's true what they say. You know who your true friends are the older you get. And, you know, I've lost a lot of best friends over the years who I thought were my friends. But you know what? Like, I'm very lucky to have a lot of the same core friends that I had when I was young. And I had an experience when I was young. I lost 2 of my best friends in a car accident, which I was in. And it made me look at life differently. It was at 16, Dave and Tim. But I personally feel like my beliefs growing up as a Catholic, not to go down that road, but I believe that because of them, and I have 4 kids, and I'm blessed, and I have a beautiful home, and I don't know, man. I believe that they're a part of it, and that's my beliefs. And I know not this day and age, it's like hard for me to even say that because I feel like everyone judges me like, oh, well, you know, you believe in God. Like, listen, I have my beliefs and I'm totally comfortable with saying that. And, you know, we're human beings at the end of the day. And whether someone believes what I personally believe, that's okay. Like, we could have a conversation, but now it's like almost hard to have that conversation without feeling like someone's going to judge you.
No, I think it's the best part about having friends is being able to talk about your differences and like and respecting someone for their beliefs. And there needs to be more of that in 2020, I think. Respecting someone for what they believe or what they don't believe. I think
exactly.
It's
that's a fine line when we're talking.
We're joint hands here.
when we get into if you start doing that and it gets anywhere political, that's where that changes a lot, because it's one of those things where it's like, sure, we should respect each other and what we believe, but then it's like it's vicious, man. Again, I don't know.
You can't infringe as long as it stays personal and it doesn't infringe on anyone else's rights or beliefs. Like it's a beautiful thing to have a personal belief.
Like, I was born, bred, and raised like somewhat more conservative in my family. So for someone to sit there and say you're wrong for being pro-life, or, you know, like, you're totally entitled to your opinion and what you believe, but you're not going to change mine. But let's have a healthy conversation and understand one another. And that's where I think, like, this day and age, it just doesn't happen. People are just set in their ways, and it's like, you either agree with me or you don't.
Yeah.
So that's why, you know.
We should talk more.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. So I want to keep chatting with y'all, but I have another episode coming in shortly, and we've been going for over an hour anyways.
It goes so quick, man. Yeah. Time flies when you're having fun.
Time does fly when you're having fun. So let's do this before we wrap things up. One more time. Let's shout out the shows. Let's shout out where people can find your music on the interwebs.
Sounds good. You could find us on MySpace. You could find us on
We're
Facebook.
on MySpace?
Nah, I'm joking. Well, you probably can. I don't know. But you could find us on Spotify, Apple Music. We released our first single last year on Mind Over Matter Records, Austin's Awesome. We released a 7-inch, which are sold out at this point. But back to the show, 2020 is going to be a fun year for Pac. We're not going to hop in a van like we are in our 20s and tour the world, but we're certainly going to play some shows in different areas, which we're excited about. On the 18th of January, we get to share the stage with this lovely gentleman right here with Sikes and the New Violence, Dinosoul, and Pac, 7 p.m., $10 to get in. Support bands.
Support cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good night.
Support yourself.
You should be there.
With a fun evening out on the town. Yeah.
And if it snows, just put your snow tires on and come on out. What else are you going to do in the dead of winter?
Oh, yeah. Everybody acts like they've been living in fucking San Francisco for the past 30 years. And wow.
We're Yinzers here in Pittsburgh. Come on. Come downtown.
I made a pact with the people close in my life that I'm not going to participate in any conversations complaining about the weather this year. It's just like such a waste of time.
Oh, yeah. No. It's a thing where it's like, if you ever wake up and tell yourself that you're going to have a bad day, you're going to have a bad day. Mm-hmm. And that's how I feel about people who are like, oh, it's cold outside, I'm going to be cold. Like, if it's in your brain, it's going to be amplified.
Yeah.
Put on a jacket, a scarf, a hat.
A nice sweater.
And just go. Like, yeah, okay, it's going to be chilly outside. I'm going to accept this as
some more mittens,
a responsible person that lives in the Northeast.
Exactly.
Okay, just get over it.
Yeah.
But again, people like to complain.
People do like to complain.
Yes.
Let's focus on positivity.
And with that being said, that is all, folks. Thanks so much for listening, Kelly, Justin, Pac. One more time. Let's fist bump.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I like fist bumps. You know, it's like
I'll do it.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be back again.
I'll do it.
Oh, that's nice. I'll be back again in a couple days with another episode. Same time, same place, same channel. You know the drill. My name is Sikes. Start the beat 2020. Woo, woo.
Hey.
Thanks for listening. Actually, I'll probably put this up sooner because we're promoting a show.
Yeah.
So who knows? It'll come up eventually. But yeah, that's it. And we're done.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
Where's my headphones cutting out?
I think you need to karate chop it.
I was ready to start beatboxing and rap over that.
Seems to go, but you don't.
Hello? I think my headphones are bad. Oh, there it is.
Sounds great.
My headphones are...
My name is...
This cable's going bad.
No.
I'm on the beat of Sikes in a major way.
Oh.
We're going to speak a podcast today. Come on, Brian, ask me some questions today.
Well, now that I've fixed my headphones, Jesus Christ. Okay, yeah, now this sounds very loud. We're good to go.